what is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review the debut album by basically the hip-hop group UTP, which is a group album by a collective that was also with the rapper Juvenile. Basically this product is called The Beginning of the End, and it came out in the spring of 2004. So basically in late 2003, Juvenile dropped the hit album Juvie the Great, which was one of his last albums on Cash Money for a good while as far as this pitch gonna happen. That particular album got a #1 single, which was called Slow Motion, as far as those fairs gonna have. The album Juvie the Great got a #1 single, which was Slow Motion, as far as those fairs gonna happen. Just within the pitch behind is one of the last songs within the notable kind of range of the deceased rapper Soulja Slim, who was a pretty dope rapper. I need to get to some of his tough stuff. Unfortunate aspect within that, but Juvenile and Soulja Slim had a pretty huge hit throughout the summer 2004. Was just pretty much getting cranked out. Just excellent kind of neighborhood jaunt within those pitches. Definitely catapulted Juvenile into the spotlight. Now he was large in like the late 90s with like Back That Ass Up and some of those type ones. Some of those Manny Fresh beats from back in those particular days. I think Ha was another one, some of those type pitches, but just within the tones, that particularly 2003, 2004 was like Juvenile's era, and he had a pretty good run in 2006 also with Reality Check with songs like Rodeo, some of those type fairs. But this was like the good bolsterment to that particular album, Juvie the Great, and it's just a good type pitch because it had another hit single that actually did pretty solidly on like the charts, Nolia Clap. But the thing about that particular song was it also introduced Juvie's at least two wingmen in this particular sense, which was Skip and Wacko, who oftenly enough pop up on Juvenile albums as far as fairs can happen. Now the thing about this particular album here, it does have that huge commercial single, but that's about all it's really anchored on as far as fairs can happen. It's not to say it's a bad album, but just in terms of like the casual bop, something that you would probably have. I just wouldn't come into this album expecting it to have like 2 or even 3 singles. I wouldn't come into this album expecting it to have 3 or even 2 singles within the aspect of this, things that you're going to have the routine pleasure of really knowing affably within the pitch. It's not really so much like a casual full bound type one. I want to say maybe there's like a chance that this album might have distantly went gold. This seems less likely now, but I would at least say that like Nolia Clap was a top 35 single. Now, I didn't remember this song as much back in the day, but I do remember seeing it on like the charts, and I just never really got around to checking it out as full bound. I wanted to review this album for quite some time, actually. This is an album that I have like a little bit of story type aspect with, because back in like 2015, 2016, when I made the Acid Roots channel, this particular album did not have a wiki page, and I didn't like back in those days doing album reviews of music that did not have Wikipedia information, because it was just tougher to find and discern the information. So it took me a while to finally get to this particular product. I probably could have reviewed it. I want to say I had an article like in 2019, 2020, something like that. It was something I've had on the back burner for quite some time as far as this first can happen, but just never got around to it. It's just in the pitch. I just was kind of either lazy or just put it off within some of those type fairs. It's something I always did want to review because I knew it was going to be interesting. This is a pretty solitary album within the pitch. I mean, yeah, the only casual smash on here is just Nolia Clap, but it is a pretty well balanced, and this album's actually going to get over an 8.5. It's going to get pretty close to a 10 out of 10. It's not quite a classic, and I realize casual wise it doesn't have like the anchored hits apart from one top 35 single, but it's just in the pitch as far as saying it does have some good stuff on here. Juvie is on here oftenly enough, and Skip and Juvenile is on these songs oftenly enough, and Skip and Wacko are not bad rappers within the pitch. Now the thing about it was the actual factoid to say about UTP real quick is the fact that there were some other rappers on there originally. I want to say that Soulja Slim was originally a part of that particular group, but he passed in late 2003, so he never got a chance to be a part of this project. And then on top of that, like Young Buck from G Unit was also part of like UTP probably back in 2001, 2002. He left by 2002 to go join G Unit 2003, somewhere within those fairs. There were some other folks in there just within the concept, but for the most part, the main 3 for the decent enough while is Juvenile, Wacko, and Skip within some of those type pitches. So it's just within the tone. They have dropped a number of projects. There is at least 2 compilation albums, one in 2002, one in 2003, and then there's like there's an EP that I'm eventually going to get to. There's a 2004 EP called Nolia Clap that's titled after the hit song, just within the pitch, that has a few extra songs on there in addition to like the 2 singles off this project, and then there's like a 2007 album, something like that. Now I don't know if Juvenile's on the 2007 album. He kind of disappeared. The thing about Juvenile is the fact that after Reality Check, he kind of disappeared for a while. I remember visiting Juvenile's MySpace back in like the summer of 2007, and he originally said he had an album that was supposed to come out in November 2007, but it just never happened. And then he did not resurface until like the late fall of 2009. So it's just a pitch. It was kind of questioning. I mean, he just kind of completely blipped off the radar between like the second half of 2006, pretty much all of 2007 and all of 2008 and most of 2009. So it's just within the pitch as far as saying, but just look after. So this is a hit album here, just to be able to get towards that. So kind of within the pitch, but as far as saying, there actually were two singles, one of which was the hit single Nolia Clap, which I would go for the remix. The original Nolia Clap is pretty good, but if you're looking for more casual type moments, the rapper Juvenile, who's the rapper that's probably the reason why more folks would know about this particular album, is not on the original version of the song, so he's on the remix, which is also included on this album. So I would probably start off with the remix if you know less about this particular folk. But I would say that basically, I think it was the remix that charted. I think that was the particular one. The original one, it seems less within the aspect. Not to say it's not a good song. It just is basically, it's either Wacko or Skip that handles like the third verse. Juvenile's on the third verse in Nolia Clap. I'm just gonna talk about the remix one. Just to say so. And then there was like there was a second single that didn't really chart whatsoever, but I'm glad it was at least attempted, which is What's Up. So some good type fares. But basically, Nolia Clap, the remix, is like a buzzing kind of night send off to kind of get here. Just good dance craze, it had to say. Good summer foiled like slow motion, it had to say here, and the song slaps pretty well. So it's just a pitch. Pretty noble production, I'd say. Good, pretty notable and signified type production, I'd have to say. It stands out pretty well, just like a good mid-2000s kind of dance gem as far as this pitch can happen. Definitely, compared to like the lazy kind of summer fried glaze type energy of slow motion, that was the number one back in those times. This is like I was saying, like a real great foil to that. This would be like the turn up if like slow motion is like just a lazy kind of Tuesday, Wednesday kind of afternoon pitches like that, just in the heat of like July, August, some of those type fairs. I'd say this is definitely one of the moments when it's like 6:37, not quite pitching out where it's at the absolute type craziness just within it, but definitely a good riler to kind of get things going within the pitch. Probably something for like 7:30, 8:15, some of those type fairs. It's like the initial asses get shaken as far as this pitch gonna happen. Just a good product to like the spices still kind of being on the upswing as far as this first gonna go. So it's just a good notable type one, kind of uncommon within the pitch. This would be like a good surprise song to kind of play within the concept as far as saying that just it doesn't get as much commonplace, especially with the fact that not as many seemingly like nowadays with the way things are kind of happening, Skip and Wacko are just not as much full bound. They're not as much full bound kind of within the widespread of it. I think this probably is their biggest song. Now they've been on a number of Juvenile albums. They are on Reality Check, which has some good songs on there. That actually has some casual ones. I forget some of the particular ones off that album. I'll get to that when I review that later on. But just to say within those pitches that Skip and Wacko are on that 2006 album. They might be on the 2009 album. They are on like Juvie the Great, which I reviewed back in 2023. So some good type pitches for that. But it's definitely a notable type single. Just some good night product in the pitch, good riler. What's Up is the second single. This is a good buzzing type one. This didn't chart, and I probably don't think it would have charted just within the fair behind it. Just typical type one to get things. Just a more kind of just off-kilter type one of another riler. Just probably a better buzz single more so than anything else. Like a good neighborhood buzz commotion kind of get here as it starts to get dark. I'd have to say within those pitches, just grand flip mode type song. I'd have to say within that pitch, and by flip mode, just the concept of like switching from like the work tone of just blue collar type fare to getting like to loosening up, untying the tie, and just getting crunk a little bit within some of those type fares. So it's just a good aspect to kind of get crunk within those particular fares. And not just the product of wearing ties pitches like that, but it's the product of getting out of your work outfit and having some particular fares of like, okay, it's time to get switch to that particular mode, get a little bit crunk a little bit, figure out where the drinks are at, some of the bells, some of these type fares are just like having some good times. Pretty much, I mean, I would say less of like maybe full bound kind of Friday, the pitch of Friday, Saturday type fare, more of just maybe like Thursday evening, like, okay, I've got some time off for a little bit, just in the tone as far as saying kind of the product of like the initial kind of moments. This would probably be like a good lead in to Nolia Clap just a little bit earlier in the evening, but it's just a good type pitch. So both these are just kind of more rilers, more so than the full blown kind of craze, full blown sheer craze factor. But it's just good type moments for just like, all right, time to get to my nightlife, some of those type moments. So it's good type tones. But yeah, me basically recommend. There's 12 songs in this particular album. There's actually 14 songs in this album, but 2 of which are remixes, which I'm not going to count because I would basically recommend, like I was saying, the original Nolia Clap. No, I would basically recommend, like I was saying, the Nolia Clap remix because that's the one that has the Juvenile verse on there. I'd probably say if you're more familiar with UTP and you know more about Skip and Wacko, some of those type folks, and you're just more affable to like that particular cause about it, I'd say yeah, the original Nolia Clap's pretty good, but it just doesn't have Juvenile on there, who's the more notable rapper. different. He does have a pretty swagged out verse. He has his usual kind of particular charm just with an aspect as far as being able to have some of those particular flares. So it's just a good type concept kind of get that song. I think the remix, like I was saying, was the one that charted back in those days because it was just a good secondary look for Juvenile after his hit that he had in the summer of 2004 with Slow Motion. This was kind of like the next big song that folks crested to after Slow Motion kind of wore off, was this particular one. Now I want to say there was also In My Life, which kind of got mildly popular around like 2004, around that particular time with Slow Motion, and this particular song was just kind of concept. This was pretty much like, I want to say this particularly charted fall of 2004. This was like the next thing I think folks were kind of having the trajectory towards within that. But it's just kind of tone. The same thing with the What's Up remix that just adds a few extra rappers on there, but the original What's Up is just as good within the pitch. So I just would have to say that's just kind of the one I would go for within the pitch. Just same beat, same type of stuff. Juvenile is on the original What's Up, so there's not really too much of a difference, but it has some extra folks like Miss T, Big Zeus, and Kango Slim, which I think Kango Slim was on the original What's Up. So it's just kind of the pitch as far as saying. So there's 12 songs on this particular album, and out of those 12, I wound up recommending 10. So the only 2 songs I don't recommend on here would just be Juvie, Wacko, Skip, 3 Bad Brothers, and then Soulja. Which basically talk about these ones. Soulja just has a pretty relatively bad type production on here, just not really that affable. It kind of has like this horrorcore type. Soulja kind of has like this horrific kind of operatic type tone about it, just from the pitch behind it. It kind of has like a little bit southern friedness just about it, but just the composition as to how this particular one was is just a little bit more abrasive and just kind of cagey within the sense of just not being as full-blown affable within like the smooth factor, how it particularly nailed it. I mean, I think like there's like a particular bass guitar lick towards like the middle to like the end of like the verses on this particular song that hits a little bit, but it's just not enough to really save the song within the pitch as far as this being a lot more affable. I think within the sense this is supposed to be like a ride out type song, some of that like Outlawz type riding. Like there's some ones on here like War Shit, and possibly like there's some songs on here like War Shit, and That's All That I Know, some pitches like that that feel pretty similar. I feel like in certain senses UTP is pretty similar to like the same Outlawz and Tupac kind of Summer 96 kind of ride out with, and pitches like that, just that lazy kind of summer energy, just in more night type commerce. But I would have to say that Soulja just didn't pull out the vibes within much kind of Soulja just didn't pull out the vibes within much kind of aspect of just like a real kind of charm factor about it, or just the affability behind it. And then 3 Bad Brothers, Juvie, Wacko, Skip was just kind of a poor type one. This is just kind of a production type fare that just takes it back to a more boom bap, kind of something like Vanilla Ice and NWA, some of those type folks that just had like a simplistic kind of turntable beatbox type production that just was not that Apple. Real retro type one, feels like ripped out of 1987, something like that, but just didn't nail the appeal behind it. So basically 10 out of 12, I'm going to give this album like a 9 out of 10. Now it would get a lot higher if just within the pitch. I think it's kind of like within the range. I would almost say like a 9.25, but this album, in terms of like the affability behind it, in terms of like the blisteriness of it, there's a lot of songs on here that are just kind of more roundabout and like a more hardcore type territory. So if you are expecting more songs like Nolia Clap, even the second single What's Up is just kind of more of like a buzz single at best within some of those type tones. So it's just in the pitch as far as saying it just doesn't have like the dynamite kind of like killer type songs within the pitch as far as saying that there's multiple songs that are like best of the best. I mean, there are good songs on here, but the anchor is easily Nolia Clap just in the pitch. So it's just kind of the tone, just a little bit. Like I feel like the energy, this is basically like Juvenile's Outlawz as far as this pitch can have. It's not to say that Skip and Whack, I mean, these guys have pretty noble. They're not modest or amateurs within the pitch, within the tone as to how they handle the verses, but it's just kind of the concept that the songwriting, I mean, there's some ones on here that are pretty immediate, like I would say What's Your Brains Like? It's a real nice R&B flavored type song. And like there is like some songwriting on songs like The Best Years and Ride Tonight, some of those type ones. But in terms of like, there's not many club songs on here either. A lot of this is just more summer writing, just in the pitch behind it. So it's just kind of the tone of like, basically what I would say is just like getting an Outlawz album without Tupac, and Tupac's songwriting from 96, just more circa 2004 and pitches like that. It's just kind of the tone. I mean, the Outlawz were notable within a sense, but it just felt like they kind of needed more Tupac within a sense to either be able to get them songs within the pitch as far as having a little bit more things to kind of anchor themselves on, or just kind of have the pitch that they just need more posse moments to just have like some good summer ride out type moments. So it's just kind of the strengths there. You would think within the strengths of this particular project, I mean, it's good. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. It's just kind of the pitch that you have to kind of ride with the movement a little bit compared to like the concept of just saying like you're going to have like 3 or 4 songs you're going to recognize as full bound with this. It's just kind of the pitch. But I would have to say, so basically, one of the more immediate ones to kind of go for on here that probably should have been a single, this would have been a pretty good look, is like kind of like a pseudo sequel to Slow Motion. I would have said this would have been a nice one to have chosen. It's good. I like the fact that What's Up was the second single, but I think within the concept, it probably should have been What's Your Brains Like, and then What's Up as like the third single. It's like a good 1, 2, 3 punch, but What's Your Brains Like is one of the most immediate ones on here. It's like an album highlight, I'd have to say, just a dope vanilla kind of ladies evening mingle. I'd have to say about this particular song, just some good enjoyment. So this has a real excellent hook on here. Particular Kango Slim Cat does a lot of good hooks on this particular album, just within pitch. Now he was on a song that was pretty notable from like Juvie the Great, which I forget what that song was called. I'm gonna look that up. Yeah, Kango Slim did a real excellent hook on the song It Ain't Mine from Juvie the Great, which Kango Slim did a real excellent hook on the song It Ain't Mine from Juvie the Great, which I recommend that song pretty well. Pat, I'd say within that particular tone, a real nice one. It's pretty similar to that particular song. This one's a little bit more R&B flavor, just like a kind of summer tinge type one. Just good guitar licks on that particular song about it. It's really one of those kind of summer saunters within the pitch. Just more kind of Sunday evening, Monday evening kind of wine and dine type music. Just more R&B type fare. Just easily summer heartache within the pitch. It's basically like a more kind of just laid back. It's just very similar to like Nelly's Dilemma pitches like that. Some of those particular type tones. So just like the typical summer, just kind of out and about with bells in mind as far as those pitches kind of having good type tone for that. Probably could have. I think the chart appeal of this particular song was just within that. I think the chart appeal behind the song was just within the tone of getting it. This probably would have been a really nice radio grab within the pitch behind it. But I think they were going for more just like buzz, kind of more guys night out type noises within it. But still good type fare. War Shit's a nice one. This samples Tupac on the hook. Pretty good fare for that. It's a good type tone. I remember him particularly saying, I don't remember what song he said, but it's a good type tone for that. It's like a jangled and riled kind of summer hopping kind of get here. Definitely reminds of like 96 Outlawz fare. I'd have to say within those pitches, just some hot evening fun as far as those fares were kind of having with this. So there's some ones on here. Songs like War Shit, At You Bitches, Who the Fuck Is This? Some of these type of ones. I'd say probably Don't Start, some of these particular type tones that just, like I was saying, feel like a lot of Outlawz type conduct just within the pitch. Just like those typical, it's like a pretty neighborhood type album within the fair, just more residential bound, just more sauntering within the aspect, just getting snack runs, getting like some frozen burritos, getting some Chex Mix, some of those type tones just within the pitch, just picking up stuff, getting like a 2-liter Wild Cherry Pepsi, some of those type pitches, just summer antics, Taco Bell runs, pitches like that, just neighborhood jaunts within the particular fair, just smoking swishers, some of that particular good smoke within the pitch, just good kickback, but it does it just in a more kind of it's not as contemporary within the sense, it's just a little bit more like beleaguered or swashed within the tones. It's not really like Liddy kind of like, apart from Nolia Clap, which is easily like, that, like I was saying, that's the anchor of the project, just the more star-studded type one. There's not like nightclub songs within the pitch, just more neighborhood kind of. It's not the full bound say run down or slummish, but I would say probably within the relative kind of slummish aspect. Just a little bit more weathered within the tone of like the neighborhood type jaunts within it. It's just not like when you think of like jaunts that were probably happening in like 2004, like trying to think of some club songs from 2004, like P.D. Pablo's Freak a Leak, some of those type ones, and Ciara's Goodies, some of those type pitches that were just a little bit more electro and kind of jazz electricity just in the fair behind us, just a little bit more weathered within the pitch. But some of these type ones like War Shit's one of those type ones. Don't Start's a good angle as well. I'd say it's like an after hours kind of in between moments, just a snack run, kind of smoke a sweet type wrap up to kind of get here to some songs like a good snack run and smoke a sweet type tune to kind of get within those aspects. Good wrap up. And it's a good song to wrap up some late tasks as far as those fairs going to happen. So yeah, it's the concept of a good neighborhood type fair. I feel like Don't Start has a little bit of bounce about it within the pitch. It's good product. I like songs like What's Up and Nolia Clap, some of those type pitches. I had to say, Who the Fuck Is This? Who the Fuck Is This is a nice one. It's like a basic kind of summer cruise around. I'd have to say here, just feel the breeze definitely about this particular one. Just a local saunter. I'd have to say good song to grub to, get some pitches like that, get some Popeyes, some of those type fairs I'd say within the pitch behind it. It's good summer heat type energy, just basic in the wind as far as those fairs kind of having just good product, like some good July, August type energy within the pitch, good type tones for some of that. Pretty much just like a good 1-2 punch with the Juvie the Great album, just a good kind of collective to kind of have for like some further Juvenile type fair. It'd be a good aspect to kind of take some of the songs off of Juvie the Great and kind of mix them in with this particular album, because a lot of these fairs are just on here within that same type pitch. You think of some of those type moments like Num Num off of Juvie the Great and It Ain't Mine, some of those type ones, and Down South Posted, some of those particular type fairs, some of those type hits off there. In My Life, some of those type bops that Juvie kind of had on that particular album. There's some further type moments for that. The Best Years is a quality one as well, and this switches up the tones, like a personable, reflected, it has to say here, just summer evening makeshift glaze, kind of get within those aspects. It's more blue collar type fare within a traditional traditional type sense. Pretty much, I would almost say Hustler's makeshift, but just within the tone, just having a little bit more straightforwardness. This is not as much ride out type music and more typical kind of summer antics. It's just a real talk kind of shout out as far as this pitch kind of happens. So it is kind of respecting like the concept of things that have helped you out within some of those type pitches. Just good shout out type song, kind of it's like a good shout out type song kind of get within those pitches. Just kind of the product of just being able to notice some things, just having more gratitude within the pitch behind it as far as going to happen. Good summer energy within that tone. Just something that Tupac probably would have done or Nelly would have done. Some of those type folks within the pitch. So it's good type fare. Ride Tonight is a nice one. This has the particular energy of what your brain's like, just a little bit within the product. It just like that same. This is a little bit more jazzy Faye like, but it also has some of that Tupac kind of energy from that particular aspect behind it. Just typical summer heat. It's like a jazzy face, similar kind of summer evening unwinded. I'd say here, a good song to have a cold beer to, something like that. It's local day push kind of outings within the pitch behind it. So some good type pitches for that. That's All That I Know is a nice one as well. It's like a creeping kind of New Orleans version of like a 3-6 Mafia kind of track. Some of those snack run type pitches like the pitch at night. But this particular one just does it with more dust type This particular one just does it with more dusk type energy, just some hot dusks as far as those first happen. So just more 6:45, 7:15 pitches like that. Just get some decent snacks. Get like a Butterfinger, something like that. Just good type pitch for like some of that outing type run. Get some Swish or some of that type fare within it. Get some lighters and some particular pitch about this. It's kind of dusky evening jaunts within the pitch behind it. And just to say a little bit more about Ride Tonight, that pretty much does have like a good aspect of like something jazzy Faye like this with the pitch behind it. It's a good product to kind of have for some of that particular fare. Just good. It's good particular summer day fare within the pitch behind it as far as those fares going to happen. It's pretty much like basically like a song. I would say that What Your Brain's Like is definitely like the go-to lady song on this album. But this is like a decent kind of 1-2 punch would be Ride Tonight with also just like a little bit more just standard kind of makeshift almost day fare. Just not quite as full-bound makeshift, but just some pitch of some of that. It's good type tone. And then At You Bitches is a nice one as well. It's like a neighborhood jaunts kind of get here. Just basic convo and commotion. I had to say about this particular song. Just typical hot day kickback as far as those fares going to happen. So just a little bit of like the product usual, this kind of task within it. Not necessarily so much task, but just the kind of the concept of just more standard kind of day fare, just in the pitch like standard activity, just pitches like that, whether it is just dap with homies and pitches like that is the basic concept of just like the product of just snack runs and just errand type fare within the pitch, of just like the standard, just kind of usual type tactics within the pitch behind. So it's just kind of a tone, whether or not football is on, something like that, or just the news is on, standard gossip and gab within the pitch behind it. Just smoke a few, some of that type of stuff. Get the newspaper, some of those type pitches, just standard product. Maybe PlayStation's on, some of that type fare. But just within the pitch, as far as saying just within the conduct, just neighborhood type stuff, just within the pitch, and just having like that standard social commotion. So this kind of does it with this kind of a gab type project, I would say, here between songs like At You Bitches and Who the Fuck Is This, and probably between songs like At You Bitches and Who the Fuck Is This and More Shit. And I would probably say like Ride Tonight within certain fares and some of those type ones. Even the best years kind of has some of that particular fare, and That's All That I Know. So it's just kind of with the product, just kind of that same sort of sauntering and just overall social kind of frolic in like a more creeping and ride out type sense like the Outlawz. Definitely reminds me more of Outlawz than Tupac. Like, I think Juvenile does a good job of helping anchor this product, but he doesn't really lend this particular album too many hits within the aspect as far as saying something that would really have more crossover to have gotten this album more certifications apart from Nolia Clap, which is just kind of the pitch behind it. So it's just kind of, it reminds me more of like 96 Outlawz more so than 96 Tupac, but still some good type fares because Juvenile is on a lot of these songs. It's just the pitch, it's just the fare, but it just doesn't have as much commercial kind of casual. But yeah, 9 out of 10 score I'd say within the pitch here. I think I talked about every song. So the social score I'll probably give maybe like an 8.75. I mean, it's good enough within the pitch. Definitely some great summer energy just in the fare behind it. Like I said, the Nolia Clap single is a real huge one. What's Up, the Buzz single is pretty excellent. Second single type product, even though it's less notable and less casual within the pitch. Didn't really chart. It has some great summer energy. Just pitch like that. If you're just needing plenty of good summer kind of cookout, if you're needing just plenty of good summer Taco Bell run and just more standard smoke sesh type music and just more neighborhood product amidst like the neighborhood and localized type fare, it's got some good stuff for that. Just not as much dance club hops on here. There's not a ton of club songs and just overall social kind of nightlife, but it's just kind of the pitch of just between, I would say about the hours like 3:30 to about 7:15, some of those type pitch, just with some of that that particular activity, just that particular fair relief of being done, but still the product of just like sauntering and just good socialize. So it's just on the page, but it just doesn't have as many casual bops. So in terms of the future, like UTP at least dropped a few more products. Like I said, the 2002, 2003 ones. Then the pitch is on top of that. It's just being able to say that they do have a 2007 project or something like that that does maybe possibly doesn't have Juvenile on there. But it's just on the page as far as saying it's a 9 out of 10 score, 8.75 social, pretty excellent type fair within this. Definitely a notable type one to pick up. Virtually almost a classic, but dismissed. It's like maybe a casual hit more or two, but still some excellent type fare.